Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit about traveling in the Philippines. Travel here is cheap, whether it's on a plane, a ship, a ferry, whether you take your scooter from island to island hopping or whatever. I'm not much of a traveler here. Usually I travel by bus and travel around Luzon. When I was younger, I traveled around the Philippines a little bit more. Panay, Aklan, going to areas like Boracay, places like that. And I went around Luzon, Upper Luzon a little bit too, and a lot of other places. Now I've traveled, a lot of areas in Luzon, but I like staying in my area. I'm not a big traveler, but I do run into a lot of travels. And I want to talk about this a little bit today because it's a great place for traveling, because a lot of the guys in our group do go traveling. And when I ask them, what is your budget for traveling? And we've had a couple of our guys, one of them, I was just actually watching one of his videos and about a place that he's staying at. And he's staying really, really cheaply in this place for like $30 a month or something like that. And that's really, really cheap. It's incredibly cheap to stay in a place like that, and he has a place that's okay to sleep. It doesn't have AC or something like that. And it's incredibly hot during the day there. So it's kind of rough. And it's Filipino style, but you can always get a fan or whatever and put the fan on and have that blowing on you. And I guess it was right on the beach too. But anyway, I want to talk about that because the key to traveling here is having a great home to go back to that, hey, if I get sick or I don't feel good or I want to go home, I always have my home to go back to, and I have a comfortable place with my AC, my refrigerator, food or whatever. And you can always stick somebody in there that that's close or whatever. Have one of the other expats check on it so bugs don't get in there or whatever. Keep your AC on. Have a maid go over and clean it out maybe once a week or whatever. Just dust it, clean things up. Just go check to make sure everything's okay. Have her mop the floor. Even if it doesn't need to be done, have her do it again. You know what I mean? Just to have somebody in there. And it's good because if you leave that place empty, you're gonna have problems with it. But to get back to the traveling part, and when you travel, you obviously have to make sure that your stuff back home is safe, locked up. Maybe have a safe or get a safe deposit box. And they have them at some banks, but it's touch and go with the banks here. Most banks do not have safe deposit boxes, and that's the sad part. But they do have safe deposit boxes here. Now, when you're here and you are traveling, you can travel just about anywhere in the Philippines really, really super cheap. And a lot of people say, well, Steve, I want to go to other places like Thailand, Japan, China, Cambodia, places like that. And that's great too. You can travel to those places really cheap. Singapore, Indonesia, all these other places, Malaysia, so many places you can go to. You can go to Guam. There's tons of places to travel. But in the Philippines, man, you can travel cheap. And some of the islands are right around you sometimes. If you live in where I live, you got Mindoro and you got the 100 islands up above us, up above Subic in that area. And you can go to all these places and you can just enjoy yourself. And really on the cheap in some of these places. Siquijor and a lot of these other islands, some of these places are almost untouched in some areas still from expats. People think that all the beautiful places in the Philippines are all, resorts and stuff like that. That's totally untrue. There is so many untouched places in the Philippines to go to on these other islands that you can go to. And I'm not even going to mention them. You can discover them on your own, and it's probably you need to do your research here and see what you want. Do you want black sandy beaches, white sandy beaches, light brown? You can have whatever you want. And some guys go to Boracay, and you can even go to Boracay on a low budget to a certain extent, not as cheap as some of these other places where you can stay there for a month for the cost of one night in Boracay. Granted, you're not going to have great accommodations, but you know what? You're going to have a great beach. You can probably live on Filipino food in the neighborhood for a month or whatever and live fairly decent and have some fun with your girlfriend or whatever. Learn to live like a Filipino for a month and see what it's like. See what you can get used to. I myself am not too accustomed to living like that, but I know a lot of guys out there that do live like that, and they're okay living like that. And mostly that's the younger guys. The older guys say, I can't live, Steve, without AC. I can't live without this here. I gotta have AC wherever I go. Well, you know what? Sometimes a fan can can do that. And you can always bring a portable fan with you or whatever and put it in your luggage or whatever. And you don't have to travel that heavy also when you're traveling. You know, you could travel with a nice, good-sized backpack and pretty much carry all your stuff in there, including probably a fan if you wanted to. You know, all you need is, what do you need? Shorts, underwear, not even socks probably, a good pair of Sperry shoes, you know, the topsiders or docksiders or whatever you want to call them. Some call them docksiders, I call them topsiders. You know, you wear those, and those are comfortable because you don't need socks. It's like wearing a pair of slippers. I got mine on right, let's see, right now, so you can see them, you know. Those are my topsiders. I love wearing Sperry's over here because Sperry's is a really good shoe, comfortable, and they last a long time, especially if you get the really good rubber on the soles. So if you guys travel a lot, I've had these shoes for quite a while, and I had a pair of topsiders for 15 years once. And even after 15 years, they were really good. They looked really sharp because I took care of them. I used the leather conditioner, and they just disappeared. I think somebody probably took them or something like that from me. But they were my favorite shoes because they looked so awesome. And they had that classic topsider look where they were aged and everything perfect. You know, and after 15 years, they look pretty decent. And some of the shoes, you know, like the topsiders that aren't leather, they don't last as long. But look into a good pair of shoes when you're traveling, guys, too. Also, when you go to these places, make sure you carry a little bit of extra money and emergency money with you in your pack, and also have like a fanny pack or whatever with you, and tuck a little bit of money away in there. Make sure it has like a hidden pocket in the back. And there's also other types of bags that you can get. I saw some, and Justin did a thing on this too. I saw some backpacks though up in Manila and up in Quezon City at one of the stores there. They were a little bit expensive, but they were, you know, you couldn't cut them, okay? And it had a thing that if you went someplace, you could lock it to a tree. Nobody can get into there. You know, they'd have to spend some time, you know, stealing your bag or whatever. But when you're traveling, don't leave your bags around at all. Always try to carry your bag. And also get one of the things on your phone, and it connects by Bluetooth to your bag. So whenever you're outside of 20 feet of your bag, your bag is gonna signal you on your phone, and your phone is gonna put out an alert. So you're always within 15 feet of your bag. If somebody steals your bag, you know where it is. And also put maybe an Apple tag on there or something, so that when you're traveling, you know, if somebody steals it, you can pretty much track it and hide that tag if you can. Mine's pretty much out there. I gotta hide it someplace, but anyway, hide it if you can, you know. But cheap travel here is great. You know, I like doing day trips myself a lot of the times, and I love going on day trips around here. I'm not a big overnight traveler. I would like to do some overnight traveling sometimes here soon. And I do, you know, I do like some overnight traveling, and I do on occasion go up to Manila or Quezon City. I go up to see my chiropractor and friends up there and everything. And, you know, for me, I'm kind of a beach person if you bring me to the right beach. And there are a lot of beautiful beaches near us down in Batangas. It's not too far away from us. And there's a lot of beautiful beaches also up in, you know, the Zambales area, Subic Bay, all around there too, which isn't that far away. It's, you know, the bus rides are incredibly cheap here. And let me just say this here to you guys. A lot of guys have said to me, Steve, you never get much out of Luzon, do you? You want to know something about Luzon? Luzon has some incredible places. You could spend the next 10 years visiting these places, and you'd probably not visit them all in 10 years. Because there's Aurora, there's the mountain region, there's the upper region, there's all these different regions in Luzon that you can go to, and they're extremely beautiful. And guess what? They're extremely cheap to get to if you take a bus there, or if you take jeepneys there. It's incredibly cheap to travel, but be safe. And make sure you check online where is safe, where it's not safe. Check with people that have been to these places, expats that have been to these places. Look on YouTube to see people that have been there and stuff. Make sure that you travel safe. Always be safe. Always, please, guys. There are places that are still dangerous to go to, especially when you get down into the Palawan, the lower Palawan area. Some parts of Palawan are actually not safe. The lower part of Palawan is not safe. There's the autonomous zones. In Mindanao, there's a lot of places that are not safe too. Check into these places before you go there, guys. I'd hate to see somebody get into some sort of trouble. And remember, cheap travel is not that hard. It's really not that hard. You can stay at cheaper hotels. There's boarding houses, there's rentals, furnished rentals, usually on the beach that you can get really, really cheap. A lot of the resorts, there's some really cheap resorts, and if you have your girlfriend negotiate, they can get them a lot cheaper than what they're going to tell you. Always have your girlfriend negotiate with you when you go to these places and say, hey, listen, we're going to go to another place. If you want to keep your rooms empty, you know, it's up to you. You know, say, look, you can either keep your rooms empty or you can rent to us and make a little bit. And usually they'll bite. They'll usually say, okay, you know, all right, ma'am, we'll rent to you for this price. You know, if you go into a resort area and there's a lot of resorts around, try to still negotiate with them. And if they won't, try going to another area and see if there's a cheaper place. Sometimes you can get a cheaper place. It might not be as nice. And make sure you check that your AC's working. Make sure your refrigerator and your TV and your toilet is all working before you take the room. Tell them you want to go see the room and you want to feel the AC blowing in your face, and you want to make sure the toilet and the water and the hot water heater works in there, because last time I went to a place, all of them were broken. All of them. You know, and they came in at 7:30 in the morning when I was leaving at 8 and said, well, we fixed it. And I'm like, well, I'm only paying half, because you know what? And they said, okay, that's fine. You know, but I mean, we slept in the room that night. They should have actually took 75% off for all the stuff that was broken in the room, in all honesty. I was really disappointed in that and that was up in Zambales, you know, that everything in the room was broken. But be careful, guys, out there. Make sure you, like I said, negotiate. Try to find a house or cottage or even a hut on the beach. And sometimes it's worth it. If you have all your food, take some camping stuff with you sometimes when you're going into these outer islands, a way to cook, or a little thing that at least you can cook some eggs, because you can always get eggs places. You can always fry up an egg or boil an egg, and at least you got some eggs. You can go down and get some watermelon and fruits and stuff like that and still live fairly decent on these islands. Eggs are good for you, you know, for the most part, with the exception of the cholesterol. They're good protein, it's a good meal, and it fills you. But, you know, cheap living is here. You know, I'm telling you, even if you're on a regular budget, it's exceptionally cheap here. I just want to talk about that a little bit, guys, because I'm getting a lot of people asking me about traveling and stuff like that, and I've been touching on that. And I'm not a big traveler, but I do get a lot of information off the other guys, and a lot of the guys are budget travelers here. We have a younger guy here, and he has his own YouTube, and he's traveling all over the place now, and he's doing fairly decent on his YouTube, actually. And he is like a budget traveler, but we've had several other budget travelers, and some of the, even Justin I would consider kind of a budget traveler. And maybe Justin will do a thing on traveling in the Philippines, because he stays at a lot of reasonably cheaper hotels that are still fairly decent. They might not be fancy, but some of them have AC and some of them don't. Anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show.